The richest source of omega-3 fatty acids on Earth is not salmon. It is not fish oil. It is not flax seed or chia or any supplement on a pharmacy shelf. It is a plant whose seed oil is 64% omega-3 by weight. This is a plant that reseeds itself so aggressively that one planting feeds a family for generations. It is a plant that 500 million people eat every single week across Asia, used as food, medicine, and lamp oil for centuries. In America, we spray it with herbicide and call it a weed. That is not an accident. On February 19, 1942, President Franklin Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9266. Within 6 days, 120,000 people received notices. They had less than a week to pack a life into what they could carry. Farms worth $72 million were sold for cents on the dollar, or simply abandoned. The crops still in the ground were seized by strangers at harvest time. Among those farms were the gardens of Japanese-American families who had cultivated this plant for 30 years on American soil. It was a plant their grandmothers had grown for food, for medicine, and for oil. When the families came home after the war, shattered and starting over, they did not replant it. The market was gone. The buyers did not know what it was. The knowledge had been incarcerated with the people who held it. Today, Americans spend $7.68 billion every year on omega-3 supplements. Most of that money buys fish oil. Meanwhile, this plant grows freely in almost every climate zone, asks nothing in return, and outperforms every product in that multi-billion-dollar industry. We do not grow it. We do not eat it. We have been taught to kill it. The historical record begins in the mountains of southern China sometime around 500 AD. A physician named Tao Hongjing was compiling the supplementary records of renowned physicians, the most comprehensive Chinese pharmacopoeia of its age. Among the herbs he documents is one called zisu, or purple reviver. He records it as a treatment for respiratory ailments, noting that it clears the blood and calms the stomach. This plant had been cultivated across China for at least 400 years before he wrote his first line. It had already crossed the sea to Japan in the 8th century, where during the Edo period, from 1603 to 1868, farmers grew it on 90% of all cultivated land. They used the leaves for medicine and pressed the seeds into oil to light their homes before electricity existed. Japanese fish sellers tucked its leaves beneath raw fish, not as decoration, but because the antibacterial compounds prevented spoilage. Chefs understood this centuries before science confirmed it. In Japan, the word for this plant is shiso. In China, zisu. In Korea, cayennip. In India, perilla. These are 4 names for the exact same plant. In 1991, researchers at the National Institute of Nutrition in India analyzed perilla seed oil. The findings went quietly into a scientific journal and almost nowhere else. Alpha-linolenic acid concentration was 54% to 64%. That is the highest concentration of omega-3 fatty acids ever recorded in any plant species. It is higher than flax seed, which the industry markets at premium prices. It is higher than chia, and higher than any fish oil product on the shelf at your pharmacy. Perilla seed oil also carries the highest ratio of omega-3 to omega-6 fatty acids of any known seed oil at 6:1. That matters because the modern Western diet runs closer to 15.1 in the wrong direction, heavy in omega-6 and light in omega-3. This is a dangerous balance that researchers at Harvard Medical School have linked to increased inflammation and cardiovascular disease. The plant also contains rosmarinic acid. Perilla carries more of it than rosemary does, more than basil, and more than oregano. In 2004, a clinical trial published in the Annals of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology showed Japanese researchers giving perilla extract to patients with seasonal allergies. The treatment group reported 50% fewer symptoms. This came not from a pharmaceutical, but from a plant. By 2017, Korean researchers documented that the omega-3 from perilla oil crossed the blood-brain barrier, protecting neurons from oxidative stress. In 2024, a team studying Parkinson's disease found that cold-pressed perilla oil increased beneficial gut microbiota through the gut-brain axis, one of the most promising frontiers in modern neuroscience. The plant had been doing this quietly for a millennium, while Western medicine looked elsewhere. These studies came from Asian government research centers and medical hospitals, yet they sat in journals published in languages that major Western databases systematically under-indexed until the early 2000s. An ancient archive of clinical knowledge was effectively invisible to the physicians prescribing fish oil capsules every morning. So, who decided which nutrients were worth research? In 1971, an Inuit study in Greenland showed that populations eating enormous quantities of fat had dramatically lower rates of cardiovascular disease. Researchers identified omega-3 as the protective mechanism. Fish consumption was the explanation, and fish oil was the answer. By 1980, an industry was born. Today, fish oil commands 61% of the global omega-3 market share. Processing, extraction, encapsulation, and cold chain shipping. Every step creates a barrier to entry. Every barrier protects a profit margin. PubMed lists more than 15,000 studies on fish oil and omega-3. Search for perilla oil, and you find only 400. This is not because fish oil works better, but because fish oil has funding. Perilla cannot be patented. Its seeds cannot be made sterile. Its oil cannot be extracted with proprietary technology that generates licensing revenue. A family can press perilla seeds with a hand tool purchased for under $100 and produce a year's supply of omega-3 oil in a single afternoon. That arithmetic is the reason the research does not exist. But the suppression of perilla in America was not just about research funding. It was more direct. By the 1930s, Japanese-American farming families across California's Central Valley had quietly become the most productive agricultural force on the West Coast. They grew 40% of California's commercial vegetable crop. Per acre, their farms were worth $279, against a state average of $37. They transformed marginal land into the most productive farms in America. Among those farms were kitchen gardens where perilla grew. The seeds were saved each autumn. The oil was pressed in winter, and the leaves were eaten fresh through summer. This was ancestral practice maintained quietly in a new country. Then, Pearl Harbor happened. Hours after the attack, Austin Anson, managing secretary of the Salinas Vegetable Grower Shipper Association, boarded a train to Washington. He had been lobbying for the removal of Japanese-American farmers since the 1920s. He now had a receptive audience. He told the Saturday Evening Post in May 1942 that the real question was whether white farmers would live on the Pacific Coast or Japanese ones. Decades of organized corporate lobbying had finally found its political moment. When Executive Order 9066 was signed, the War Relocation Authority oversaw the removal of 120,000 people into concentration camps. By year's end, the managing secretary of the Western Growers Protective Association reported that the removal had resulted in considerable profits for white growers. The farms that had been lobbied away were acquired by the exact same organizations that had demanded the evacuation. By 1960, the number of Japanese-American farmers had dropped to a quarter of their pre-war presence. The knowledge they carried did not return with them. Rebuilding the agricultural practice of a generation was not possible. Many moved to cities, and the perilla gardens did not come back. But the plant kept growing. It escaped cultivation and spread into roadsides and disturbed ground across the eastern United States. It now appears in agricultural extension bulletins as an invasive weed pest. In America's backyard, an ancient food and medicine tradition was reclassified as a nuisance. Herbicide companies now sell products specifically formulated to kill it. Yet 500 million people still eat perilla every week across Asia. They wrap it around grilled meat, pickle it in garlic and soy, and press the seeds for oil. They have not forgotten. A 100-gram serving of fresh perilla leaves delivers 3.9 grams of protein, more than spinach or kale. It provides 230 milligrams of calcium, 1.7 milligrams of iron, and 5,520 international units of vitamin A. The seeds are the real infrastructure. They contain 35 to 45% oil by weight, with 54 to 64% of that oil being the exact omega-3 fatty acid the supplement industry sells back to you in gelatin capsules for $20 a bottle. The plant grows in USDA zones 2 through 11, covering virtually the entire continental United States. It thrives in poor soil and tolerates drought. It self-seeds with a ferocity that is closer to resilience than gardening. A single plant produces 1,000 to 4,000 seeds, and 85% of those seeds germinate. They remain viable in the soil for 5 years or longer. Korean farming villages have documented the same perilla patches growing on the same ground for 10 generations without replanting. One decision by one ancestor feeds descendants for centuries. To grow it now, soak the seeds in water for 24 hours before planting. Surface sow them directly into the ground or into any container with basic potting soil. They need light to germinate, so do not bury them. Seedlings emerge in 7 to 21 days. After the first month, the plant adapts to local rainfall and needs almost no further attention. Harvest leaves all summer and eat them raw. Wrap them around grilled meat the way 500 million people across Korea and Japan do every week. Add them to soups or dry them for winter tea. At the end of the season, let some plants flower. The seed heads will shatter and sow themselves. What you will have is not a garden plant. You will have a permanent food system that returns every spring without asking. For the oil, let seed heads fully mature in autumn. Dry them completely, then cold press using any manual hand press. The golden oil stores for up to 12 months in a dark glass container. The leftover seed cake feeds chickens or goes into compost. Nothing is wasted. This is the omega-3 supply the supplement industry spent 50 years making sure you never thought to grow. The Japanese-American families who kept perilla alive in California did not lose it because the plant failed. They lost it because they were taken from their land by an executive order lobbied into existence by corporate interests who wanted their farms. The corporate associations got the land. America lost the knowledge, but they could not incarcerate the seeds. The plant escaped into roadside ditches and spread across 20 states waiting to be recognized. It has been recognized by half the world's population for 1,500 years. The knowledge is not lost. It is growing in your driveway. It is in every packet of shiso seeds at any Asian grocery store. It is in every community that held on to what was taken. If this story changed how you view the weeds in your garden, please subscribe to our channel and like this video. We are dedicated to uncovering the history and the natural treasures that they tried to bury. Let's geo-trong the future together. The next archive will be opened soon.